Barbara, what are some silos that you have encountered?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Christiane, and I hope my inputs on this topic will be interesting, bring some value to ILTA's community. So before I jump in, first I should give a quick background about my firm. So RMS Advogados is the biggest law firm based in the northeast of Brazil by number of lawyers. So we are 400 lawyers, give it a so. And so we're still working from home since the pandemic started, since March last year. But before the pandemic, our lawyers and staff were distributed in 10 offices spread over our continental country. And we're currently handling 250,000 claims for some of the largest corporations operating in Brazil in banking, telecom, retail, and other segments. So the firm is recently new. So it was founded in the early 2000s. And operated initially with a small number of lawyers in one office in Fortaleza, but it grew rapidly in number of offices and in lawyers when we started working with large-scale litigation cases. So our firm's strategy to operate in this new segment for us, because we were a boutique firm and we migrated and we started to tackle also large-scale litigation cases, is that instead of dividing our attorneys, because we have to divide it somehow, by practice groups, we decided to work through exclusive teams assigned to each client or groups of clients, depending on the number of cases we had. And we also customized our case management software and internal workflows to match each client's specific requirements, such deadlines and KPIs and metrics that they had in their contracts. And this organization was important to drive synergy between in-house and our legal team and to ensure the best match of workflows. But on the other hand, we ended up creating multiple silos at the firm. So we had these teams of lawyers and trainees assigned for each client. And we also had the business staff for HR and IT working to serve the clients and to serve the lawyers. So, and just to wrap up my answer on this question specifically, I'd like to refer to the blog post that you co-authored with Mike on ILTA's website. And when you say that most silos are the result of either, and I'm reading it just to get it correctly, are either wearing blinders or the unintentional byproducts of existing organizational structures that have not been re-examined for a long time. So this is exactly what happened at my firm in my situation. So these silos were formed, and this is what we saw in the first place.
Yeah, that's a great viewpoint that, when your structure goes up, sometimes you put up those silos even though you wanted to avoid them. Yeah. So how did those silos impact the firm?
As you say, silos are bad because when multiple departments work independently to serve the firm's attorneys, and in my case, the different groups of attorneys serving different groups of clients with particular needs, they function awkwardly like multiple random lengths working independently to propel an athlete down the track. It was amazing to visualize it. This doesn't mean that the athlete can't get down the line or even win the race. But the effort to do it is huge. It's bigger than if you have a synergy inside a firm, if the silos didn't exist. So back to my firm, we have these administrative areas serving lawyers and ultimately serving the clients without a clear view of the business, having to rely on the lawyer's requests to serve them. So, and we also have the customized system that, as I mentioned, and every lawyer will say, oh, my client is special. They need this and that. So we're creating some awkward situations system-wise. And every practice area leader would say they want it specifically, and the IT team would make the amends. And so to sum up the impact, for one, we couldn't have structured data because the system was over-customized, if I can say that. And since everything was special, and some of our tools were underused, sometimes work was duplicated in more than one team because we were saving clients. Clients don't need things that are much different from each other. So we were tackling the same problem, but in different ways. And we were constantly having to reinvent the wheel and finding short fixes because everything was urgent. So these were the major impacts that I kind of visualized.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of listeners will be able to relate to that. I certainly can. A lot of this rings true on my end as well. So now, what was your approach for breaking or melting silos?
Again, as the silos were not created intentionally, they were not purposefully melted down. Like we didn't wake up someday and talk to the managing partners of the firms, let's break down some silos. That didn't happen. To make a short answer to your question, I would say COVID happened because we were all, everyone, the groups were not together anymore in their particular areas, but it wouldn't be fair to the work that we've been doing at the firm, not intentionally tackling the silos, but we were trying to, and we've been successfully melting down the impact. So we visualized the impact of the silos, and we ended up melting how? We saw that there was this, we have the, for example, for technology and other things, but technology mainly because of the rise of the need to use technology over the years. We have the teams, the lawyers talking to IT, and there was this difficulty to communicate. So the lawyers asked A, the IT team understood B, and we all had special needs for each team. So over the years, we created some areas, some business professional areas between the IT and lawyers and HR to understand the whole picture, to have the bigger view. So we created an innovation nucleus was the first difference that we created. So we had process mapping and we have some developers, but to see technology to the business as a whole. It didn't have just the IT specifically, but a team assigned to view the whole and view technology to attend the whole client. But just this wasn't enough. So we started mapping the workflows of the teams, and we started showing to other teams and to the business partners teams, like the business, the administrative staff, so that HR would see the need to find that specific kind of lawyer to that, what they were doing on the day-to-day is not just I need a lawyer. I need a lawyer to perform this and that. So it was good for everyone to have a bigger view. And also we created a legal operations team, like to tackle all the administrative activities for lawyers, but as a whole. So we started to create things that would apply to our reality. It's something, so what I have to say that is important to anyone that is trying to visualize and to melt their own silos is not to find a recipe that's going to help for everyone. It's to see what operates and what's good for each firm, for each reality, So mainly it. So, and when COVID hit, there was something extra. It's because it was easy to have everyone from different cities and we in the same room, in the virtual room. So it was good to have this to help breaking these silos among offices. So we started melting them down among areas, but ultimately when COVID hit, we melt down, bringing these other offices and everyone to the same purpose, to attend the client in the end.
Yeah, that's a great approach, especially those different levels of silos coming into play, especially when COVID hit and how important that was. So yeah. And what do you think works better now? And do you think this was a one and done, a permanent change, or do you have to keep working on this?
Oh, it's very hard when you have to say what you think. Like, oh, Barbara thinks she's done a great job melting down silos, and this is what she had to say. So I was really not nervous, but I can say that just from my point of view. So when you invite me to address this topic and to make this podcast, I talked to some people from my firm. Like, I didn't make it. It was very informal. So I say, hey, the ILTA invited me to talk about breaking down silos. I explain so I use your blog post to say what is an organizational silo. And so do you see this happen at the firm? Do you think you're better now? And I talk to people from different areas, from HR, from finance, from IT, from different practice groups. And they were very happy to think about it. And they said, wow, I haven't thought this through, but we made a lot of improvement. And they realized the importance of these areas. So yes, now that we have the process and project team, we see the whole picture. And wow, and the legal operations team makes us utilize the systems in a better way. So it was very good to make them realize that. And what everyone said is that the workflows are better defined. One area understand what the other area is doing. The communication is more fluid. We don't have people anymore saying, oh, I didn't do it, I didn't perform well because the other area didn't help. No, because now they know what they have to do in order to the other area to give back. So we're more like seeing the whole picture, and we have more accountability. So we know that this is my problem and I need to help the other area, because I know them better. Once we know what the other one's doing and the importance of their job, it's kind of humanized us. Everyone's human, everyone's doing something important. And even though we have the billers and the non-billers, they ultimately work together to attend the client. So their work is as important as mine, that I remember practicing attorney, for example. So when we ask if it's permanent change or if it's going to have to be done repeatedly, especially in these crazy days that we're living, I don't believe that any change is permanent. But what I can say is that once we had this bigger view, once we had this new way of addressing things, mapping workflows, and having conversations with areas, there's no coming back. But what we're gonna have to keep doing, we have to be constantly reassessing and making sure that we don't have new silos, because the situation is always going to change. So see if the workflows still have and change. Oh, the situation does still apply to what we're living now. And then once we think about coming back to the firm, we have to review and keep asking people and keep getting them involved in the process of making the change and creating this new scenario that we live in, by making people real actors in this scenario, not only the managing partners, not only, there's not such thing as the firm. So we can say, we stopped people from saying, oh, the firm decided. No, there's not the firm, we are the firm. And then it's been like, it's something that takes time. It's something that's not from one day to the other. But yeah, I think now after talking to some of the people that I work with and having their feedback, I feel happy. And I thank you for making me make this reflection and thinking about it. But yeah, I just think that it's a way that we'll keep going, and it's a good thing that we ended up breaking down silos in the way without even thinking, but now realizing and not coming back to the way we were before.
Yeah. Those were some great points. And I really like that, in the back of our heads, we should just have that purposeful approach of keeping silos in mind and keep working on and melting them down for better outcomes. So that's great. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much to the audience for tuning into our podcast today. And I also want to extend my thanks to Barbara, of course. It was great having you, and everybody else, have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.